Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back again to what's the title of this podcast?
I don't know.
Welcome back to us talking. This is episode 5, número 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And today we are going to talk about technology. So, a little bit of a background, not background, but just catching up. So how has it been?
Just for information, like he is the host for this episode.
My
Yes.
episode.
So it's up to him to ask whatever question he has. So I think I'm doing fine, all good. Just struggling on my part-time job and my academics here and there. But above everything's fine. How about you?
That's good. That's good to know and to hear. I'm doing great as well. Not really rejuvenated from the break because I feel like it's too sudden. It's like now we're just jumping straight away right after Raya, but we'll get there. We're gonna cope. So yeah, that's a little bit of a catching up. Yeah, mukadimah with us. Okay, but back to our real episode. So today we're going to talk about technology, our perceptions, our opinions, what we think about it, what we want to get out of it, and maybe discuss on like what the future may hold for technology. And I know technology might seem like a very ubiquitous word, where it's everywhere, it's ever present. We probably grew up with it, right? Okay, so segue. What is your experience with technology? How would you say, when did you first start?
I think it would be during my primary school years. I was like 11, 12 when my dad gave me Samsung tab. My usage of technology was just like, filter, Instagram and Facebook, just the basic ones. And that's when I started to learn how to connect with people virtually. What about you?
Interesting. For me, I think my first excursion with technology would be. Do you still remember those big old computers? So yeah, I think that was my first experience with technology.
Like in
And-
school?
No, at house. So I don't know, my dad owned one of those big white computers and I was playing with it. I remember it was like a Spider-Man game. It was like a pixel Spider-Man game. You remember that?
My first encounter was, I think I was 9, 10. We had this like cupcake games.
Yes.
What is that? Factory?
Cupcake Factory,
Yeah,
something like that.
Cake Factory.
Yeah,
Something like that,
that purple something, right?
Oh my god, yes! Oh my god, yes! Exactly,
Something
that,
like
that
that.
was it.
I remember back then, like when you buy like cereal, like Cocoa Crunch, they used to have like CD games at the back, and you
Oh!
can like download it.
Oh my god, cool.
So it was like
Wait, what was your first like online game?
my first online game. I think it was like in Facebook. You know, Facebook has those games.
Oh my god. I think I had like my first virtual game was on Y8. You know Y8?
Yes, Y8.
Y8.
You don't really interact with people, right? But it's like online, right? I think the interactive would be Facebook.
But to me it was Habbo. You know Habbo?
Yes, about that. Oh
That was
gosh.
the first. I think that was the first virtual, like international, global game I played. It was not really a game. It was just
Like a platform to chat.
for you to like
Yeah.
chat. I really
You have
love
like
it
an
because
avatar.
yeah, we could like decorate our house. Anyway,
Anyways, so past experiences, I think pretty much the same. Facebook when I was in primary, and then when I was in secondary school, WeChat.
oh my
It
god.
was not Instagram first, it was Facebook, WeChat, and then I slowly moved to Instagram. So yeah, so you would say your experience with technology is pleasant, innocuous, as in innocent.
80% of the time, yeah, but the 20% of the time I got like exposed to things I shouldn't be exposed on, like 18 plus stuff, and then I was sexually harassed online, and
Oh no.
yeah.
I
What about you? Like, what was your experience?
I think yes, mostly pleasant because I was just out of there playing games anyway. But yeah, I was exposed to that as well. And you know how our parents, I don't know, maybe it's our culture, but we don't really, like, I don't know about your parents, but my parents, they don't really talk to me about like dangers of internet. I mean, they did warn me that, you know, they could be strangers, yada yada yada, like,
Even
don't
like
talk to
assist you
strangers.
like all the time.
Yeah, on like, you know, like asking me what I search, like being protective or going through my, you know, history, because back then we don't really have this like safe search or anything like parent control or something like that.
Even now we have like YouTube for kids,
Mhm.
but even YouTube for kids are not safe, you know.
Yeah, have you okay, segue, like have you seen those like Elsa and Spider-Man videos?
Yes, oh my
It's
god,
so
it's so
creepy.
disgusting. People these days have been animated things like very innocent stuff into very not innocent stuff. Like Peppa Pig, maybe like when the parents are lalu-lalu and macam oh anak I tengok Peppa Pig, it's okay. But then the Peppa Pig content they are watching, it's the 18+ content. I'm not sure how it passed like YouTube for kids.
So the example that I have here is being a lot of things at a time. So I was scrolling through shorts and they were talking about, you know, like I want to be a successful businesswoman, but then I also want to have a farm and I want to have lots of dogs, but at the same time I want to be like traveling everywhere. So you have all these ideas in your head, but do you think that these ideas, they're not really realistic, number one, but you don't really think about it, but then because of the content that you consume, because of the hyper connectedness of everything, you sort of feel like you want to be all of those things.
Like coming from a person that is easily influenced by what I watch, it's good to be able to be one of those where you are able to travel around the world and meet new people and try to advocate and try to solve real life problems in the world. But I think it plays the biggest part.
Shaping your identity, would you say
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
And do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I was asking, is it a bad
Yeah.
thing? Like, I'm not sure. If you're realistic enough, you can have those ideas in your head, but you have to sit down with yourself and actually list down all the pros and cons. Like, do you really want it, or do you really want it just because of that person has it? Maybe it's nice, you know, just for the sake of curiosity. Yeah, I think it's good and bad. Like it's good in terms of it exposes you to new things in the world, what the world could offer you, and yada yada. But it's bad because it can be like not so realistic.
And also, I think the biggest, not problem, but challenges in our current era is because technology presents us with so many options, it feels like you're paralyzed because you don't really have a thing that define or a goal or something that is, you know how back then you have an idea of like, oh, you know, my parents are lawyers, so I want to be a lawyer because that's everything that I am exposed to. But now, since you can research basically everything, you want to become anything or an everything. But then you don't really know or you don't really have proper guidance on how to do those things. So in a way, I would say that yes, it is good that we are exposed to these kinds of dreams, ideas, right? Because and even background, because you never really thought about living off grid, right? But at the same time, you might be paralyzed by the so many options that you have.
You know how some people get stressed out when they don't have anything to wear, but in their wardrobe they have a lot of things to wear. It's like that. Like let's say you are a minimalist and you only have 5 clothes in your wardrobe. You won't feel stressed out. You're like, okay, today, first day, I'll wear this one. Next day, I'll wear this one. Like you won't get stressed out. And also this pressure of, oh, I have to keep up with the fashion. I cannot wear the same thing all over
Consumer
again.
culture, that should be a podcast title.
One day.
Monday.
Maybe next week. So like things like that, like the more options you have, the more stressful it gets. It's like crazy how AI could progress like one small thing to very quick and big thing, like painting. Like, you know, this very famous TikTok filter. where you just take a picture of something and then they would create AI of paint, right?
Yeah.
You're aware of that, yeah. That's crazy because like it could be hours for an artist to paint, but just split seconds for an AI to generate that. Crazy. So what about you? What comes in your mind?
Scary, and it could be a new sort of like, you know how industrial revolution changed the world. In my opinion, we could be going through the same thing. How everything completely changed. Actually, this is what the video is about. So in that video, probably gonna put
I will
something
share
here.
you the
Yeah.
link on the description box.
Extra references, extra work for you to do. If you want to watch that video, it's like 1 hour long, but it talks. It's so great. It's so good. It talks a lot about AI, explain a lot of stuff, the terminologies, and so much more. But basically, the gist of it is AI is going to change how we're gonna view the world. Because, like you said, how these AI, because they are programmed to train themselves, right, to be better with each input. But then, back then, so the analogy that the presenter gave in the so back then when nuclear was first not invented, but not discovered, but invented, I would say. So let's say it's going to change the world, like because you have new bombs, you have a new way to generate a lot of energy, and it's in the same vein we are going to go through it again with AI because everything's gonna change. So right now, if you notice with ChatGPT, you can ask it to write a poem based on like whoever you want. And have you seen those videos where you give the bot the lyrics or the song, and then you ask them to sing it in another artist's voice, and it's happening.
Oh my god, we can have a new Blackpink album?
Yes, and you know the Cupid song? It has been sung by Ariana The Weeknd by the bot. Like the bot is recreating that. Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah, and it's not. You can't even discern the differences because what the AI is basically doing is that they're taking everything about the weekend and they're like putting it piece by piece, you know. So that's basically like the simplified version of it. If you want more information, you should watch the video. Imagine asking your students to write an essay. Do you think it's gonna be relevant after AI is so widespread?
I think it's like irrelevant for the students, but it's morally not right for them to do that because you are not able to like have good writing skills.
But if it's so widespread that everyone is using it, every company is using it, everyone in the world is using it, like how we're doing it with social media now, I think education will radically change.
Okay, in what sense?
Let's say the traditional instruction is like, let's say at home, write an essay about climate change, right? When AI, they can just pull from different sources, and you can even like specifically what you want. It's not just random things that come out. You can put like climate change according to what kind of types, and you know you can specialize. You can like specifically what you want them to do. I think education is gonna be more about how you can take something like, let's say this is like the holy grail, right, from the ChatGPT, but you need to come up with something more. Like, so let's say it's not just gonna be about just writing an essay, but it's about is this the correct proper word to use here?
Oh yeah.
You know, it's gonna be more in depth, and I think that's how, in one way, it's gonna be beneficial because you don't just learn, I don't know, like the very basic stuff, because it's like, oh yeah, the supercomputer can do that, but back to your question of like, oh, whether it can be deployed in classroom, right? But then again, that's gonna be an issue too, because what if these developing countries like us, third world countries, we don't really have access to it, but those first world countries, they have access to like such powerful supercomputer, basically a tool that can rapidly exponentially grow, right? Because AI is not just something yang macam, it's not siloed to one category. Like if one advancement happens, so let's say in pharmaceutical areas, it's going to affect the whole AI. So that's how growth is going to be rapidly, exponentially accelerate and grow. So a fear of the future, an angst about the future, yeah, probably.
And then a lot of other things gonna come up, like you know how it transitioned from this generation to another, and then how we have like a generational gap with our parents even when they don't understand what we understand, even their basic technology now, right? What about later when we become parents or grandparents and our children or grandchildren are so advanced with the AI tools and everything? I think we're still going to have like those generational gaps.
Yes, and imagine thinking that, have you seen pyramid before? Can you imagine a world without plumbing? You know how in pyramid when you're going to do your business, there's gonna be people cleaning up after you. You know, people coming at night and cleaning up the toilet because it's manual, because it doesn't tak ada pipe yang selalu satu tempat satu. Yes, that is like what, how many years ago? 30, 40 years, probably. 50. Can you imagine like with AI, it's probably gonna go like what, maybe 10 years? Even now, like, do you know Sophie? Yeah, Sophia. How she mimics.
Yeah, it's scary. She was invited to a TV show, right?
Yep.
And how she behaved like human, like it's scary to me.
Because she's getting input, right? She's choosing input. The world is going to change radically, just like the Industrial Revolution, just like how when it was discovered, invented. And I think we should be wary because even right now we haven't really solved the problem of like social media, problem of like children identity being tied to social media, the problem of misinformation, disinformation. Can you imagine where how right now we can say, oh, it's a bot or it's a spam account, but with AI you can genuinely create like a new reality. You can't really tell that it's a computer because it acts like a human based on the input that it has received. So in the video, it talks about how there is gonna be a world where people blackmail, fitna, but this time it's like using your face, using your voice.
Oh my god!
And it's gonna sound real.
Exactly like, oh my god.
It's gonna sound exactly like you.
Now I'm doubting like whoever that is calling me, are you a real person? Even if I ask that question, AI would just say, yes, I'm a real person. I'm your mother.
In the video it also said, when we invent new technologies, there's gonna be new responsibilities. And sometimes we're not so sure what those responsibilities look like. For example, we did not have to invent the law to be forgotten until widespread cameras were
Invented.
Oh, not invented, until the internet was invented.
Oh, okay.
Because what's that? Whatever is on the internet is like forever there.
And I think it's funny and how ironic it is, the fact that human is the one that created these things, and they are the same person that cannot even come up with like solutions how to like stop all this. Like we create social media, but then we don't know how do we stop all these problems that arise from social media.
We lack foresight. Yeah. We don't really know what kind of problems that we're gonna come up with. But coming back, I do think it's gonna be a probably bright future, I hope. Recently there's been a project where they are translating animal language using AI.
That is cool.
Solving climate change
Yeah.
with AI.
Now you know what your cat wants.
Yeah. So there's a lot of goods, but there's also a lot of things that we should be wary of, and some things that we should keep an eye on. Something that we need to learn because this is how it happened for our grandparents and parents as well. Because one day they were just living like how it always be, and then things just come out. Things just come out.
And you cannot stay ignorant. Like you see what happened to our grandparents who stayed ignorant. Like they don't want to know how to use this and that, and then now they are having this fear of missing out, not knowing what their grandchildren are up to and things like that.
So the moral of this podcast would be, to keep up, maybe not be obsessed with it, but up to date
Yes.
with whatever is going on, especially in AI. I think it's gonna be something that is going to be revolutionary in the upcoming years.
Maybe not today, but in few years to come.
Yeah, and we're probably gonna look back at this video and say, well,
I told you so.
things didn't go as planned.
Yeah.
But so that's all of the questions and prompts I have. Do you have anything you want to add?
I don't. I'm just speechless.
I'm here for the ride. Today's episode is a bit specialized, I would say, but I think it's something that we should keep in mind. And I think most of your viewers are like that same. Do you think so?
I was thinking like, at first I was worried how the podcast won't be celebrated. But now I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna have this podcast for us to talk our minds out, Like, it's for whoever strangers in YouTube that feel like, oh, what are these two people talking about? Let me just tune in.
And also this is for record keeping. Memories.
Yeah, education wise, it's... Yeah.
So with that, say we end this episode with goodbye, thank you, and subscribe if you want to, and keep following Damia weekly for her weekly podcast or weekly talks.
Yeah. Thank you
Bye
for
guys.
tuning in.
See y'all.
Thank you, host of the week. Bye.
Bye.